What is going on, guys? Welcome to 59th Ruby tutorial. This is Shrek from Smartherd. In this tutorial I am going to talk about the difference between the procs and lambda. So guys, finally we have reached here. What are the difference between the procs and lambda? So let's continue our topic. So what actually is the difference between procs and lambda? The main difference arises in case of control flow keywords. When we use these control flow keywords, then only we can see a noticeable difference between the procs and lambda execution of the program. Now, the question arises, what are the control flow keywords? Good question. Let's check it out. These are break, redo, return, retry, next, etc. like this. So all these statements we have seen in the earlier tutorial, guys. We have learned a lot. We have seen a very sweet example in each case. So now in case of only break and return, we can see the difference between the procs and lambda. But in case of redo, retry and next, if we execute the programs, we won't see any significant difference. The difference arises only in case of what? Break and return. This break and return like this. Now this table, guys, I will discuss with you later on after our coding in the app Turner Studio. So let's not waste time and begin our coding. Here, guys, I have created two Ruby files, difference underscore lambda.rb and difference underscore proc.rb. This is our first file and this is our second file like this. So let's write our program of proc first. So let's start by defining a method. Right, let's put s before proc. Right, then let us define our proc object. Let's write simply proc. Yeah, this was our one of the way, guys, to define a proc. If you remember, initially I taught you. Let's put s inside proc. Yeah, then after that in this method itself, let's write call. Right, then put s after proc. Right, then let's call our method my underscore method. Right, like this. Yeah, so let's just save it and execute it. Yeah, here we go. We get an output before proc, inside proc and after proc. Things are pretty clear, guys. When this method is called, then this is going to call which method? My underscore method. After that, before proc is printed, then after that this line is executed. Now when this line is executed, then it is going to call what? This block, put s inside proc like this. So inside proc is printed. After that, put s after proc is printed like this. So our program ends. Now what if I write a return statement inside our proc? Let's return here. Yeah, let's save it and execute it. We get an output like this, before proc and inside proc. Now what the heck? Where is this after proc? Why it is not executed? Now this is the property. If you define a return statement inside a proc, then what it is going to do is that it is going to first dump us out of this proc. Then after that it is again going to dump us out of this method. So after inside proc, return is executed, then finally the program ends here. It is not going to execute what? This statement after proc. That is why we are getting the output like this, before proc, then inside proc like this. Now let us just copy it, guys. Copy it, and in our second Ruby file where we have to define our program of lambda, in order to depict the difference between the procs and lambda, let's paste it here. Yeah, now instead of proc, just write lambda. Let's change this much. Now let's first delete this return statement, save it and execute it. Yeah, we're getting the normal output. All the three statements are being executed. Now let's add a return statement here. Right, let's just save it and execute it. Yeah, here we go. Again, we are getting the three statements before proc, inside proc, then after proc. Now, in case of lambda, if we are defining a return statement inside the lambda kernel, then what it is going to do, it is when this return is executed, then it is going to dump us out of this proc, but rest of the statements of this method will be executed. It is not going to dump us out of this method. Rest of the statements will be normally executed. That is why we are getting the three statements like this. Now, let us come to our first file here in our procs programming. Now, let us edit this return statement and let's write break. Now, let's now save it and execute it. Here we are getting an error. What kind of error is this? Let's check it out. It is actually a local jump error. Why? Because inside the proc we are having this break statement, and if you remember guys, we use break statements only in case of what? In case of iterator. So in this case we don't have any iteration. This is the proc. So it is going to show what? A local jump error. Now let's use the same codes in case of lambda. Let's come to our second file. Now instead of return, just write what? Break. Now let's save it and execute it. Yeah, here we go. Again we are getting all the three statements. Here it is not going to show our local jump error in case of lambda. This is because in Ruby, break and return statements are treated same in case of only lambda, but in case of proc we will get an error because break and return are two different things for this proc kernel. So this depicts the difference between the procs and lambda guys. Now let me show you the table which I prepared for you. Here is our table. Here I have written what? Procs and lambda. So in case of return, what was happening? It will dump us out of proc as well as method. But in case of lambda, in return statement, it will just dump us out of the proc but not out of the method. So rest of the statements of the method will be executed normally. Now in case of break in procs, it will show a local jump error because of lack of iteration, and in case of lambda in break, it will just dump out of proc but not out of method. It is same as in case of this return statement in case of lambda. Now what about the rest of the control flow keywords? Yeah, here redo, retry and next. You can try these three keywords guys instead of break and return. Just try redo, retry and next. It will all show the same output in all the case. So this actually do not depicts the difference between the procs and lambda. That is why I am not showing it. Yeah, because in case of only break and return you will get the differences. So this is all for this tutorial guys. Catch you guys in next tutorial. This is Sriyank from Smartherd signing off, and please don't forget to subscribe and do share my video. Bye bye.